Welcome to the channel. Today we'll look at the price of Bitcoin and I will show you one chart which is showing that in principle the drop of the price lower than previous $3,000 maybe to $1,000 or so is very likely, or at least possible, in terms of the historical perspective. And before that, just a couple of words about the current situation in the local time frame. Well, from yesterday we had this red daily candle which is not that great. This 23.6% by Fibonacci retracement didn't hold and we approached 38.2. The lower we go, the more likely we will go even lower and close this entire pump. Also, this is the widening formation, which is the kind of a pattern of uncertainty. It could be broken one way or another without any preference. In my personal opinion, if it is rising, usually it goes lower, but again, it's just my experience. Maybe it's not relevant statistically, so don't quote me on that. Also, I must say that the major volume which appeared to be at the top of this pump is also not a great sign, because usually when we have it at the very peak of the rise, it means that the major positions were sold at that peak and the price is not holding anymore. Those huge players don't have any interest to keep it rising, and instead of that it will go down. Also, if you can look at the DMI indicator, you will see that although the positive MI is much higher than the negative one, so the trend is rising, but the ADX is at 22, 23, which means that the strength of this rise is not that high, and in fact it's quite expected that it will go lower. Finally, Fisher transform indicator shows the bearish crossover on a daily time frame from the level of 1.5. Again, very high probability that it will go even lower. So it means that the price probably will go to close maybe that gap at $7,600, and then if it will happen, then the next kind of an area of support will be from $7,000 to $7,400. Here we have 61.8% of Fibonacci, which is kind of a level which Bitcoin likes to be bounced from, and also this trend line as well. So it will be like the last attempt of the bulls to reverse the downtrend. If it will happen, I hope it will not. Maybe we'll continue to rise from here. It will be also not that bad. But also, if we will move higher, then this daily candle will become a green 8 on TD sequential on the daily time frame, and if it will continue to grow, then the next candle will be a green 9, which is also very likely to be a reversal sign to the downtrend, meaning that in both cases, whether we will go down or go up, we are in a very dangerous situation in terms of the continuation of the growth, and very likely will go lower. But again, this is a short-term picture, and today I would like to show you some long-term perspective, kind of a bearish one, not kind of, but pretty bearish, and I would start to from this chart. You see, this is the number of Bitcoins which is holding on the exchanges right now. According to the Glassnode, it is something like well, above 2 million Bitcoin, which is more than 10% of the current supply of Bitcoin, all the coins which are in the circulation. Moreover, if you also include, well, actually exclude the coins which are lost, then it will be even more than 10%, maybe up to 15%, meaning that it's very nice to have this kind of portion of Bitcoins for those who, like huge investors, hedge funds or whatever, who are driving the market and they couldn't get into this market earlier. So it will be nice for them to get that liquidity. So how can they get it? Well, you may think that they actually have the best algos which can drive the market up and down and slowly but steadily cut the size of the funds of the smaller traders, retailers as well, those maybe smaller funds which have less advanced algorithms and so on. So by like hitting their stop orders, well, there are many ways to do that. And also, if the price will go even lower, then eventually they may acquire additional liquidity from those people who are holding Bitcoin for a while. And if you remember, this is the chart which is called Bitcoin hodl waves, which depicts the number of coins which are held on the certain addresses without move. For example, this blue area is the number of the coins that are held on the same addresses more than 5 years. You see it is like about more than 20%, and 3-5 years additionally like 5-6%, and so on and so forth. And again, if you will go lower, then you will see that those 15-14% are those which are traded recently, 6 to 12 months, moving back and forth between the addresses on the cold wallets and exchanges. And this is exactly the amount of the coins, the liquidity which I was talking about when we're dealing with the trading activity. But again, if price will go lower, maybe this portion also will be moved to the exchanges. People will sell those, and again, those manipulators will be able to get more and more profit, more and more bitcoins from those people who will get desperate, and they will sell even lower than they bought eventually. So in that way, it is reasonable to expect that we may go much lower than the current level. Although, of course, I already covered the technical aspects of the fact that we might have a reversal and so on. But I would say that recently I have more people believing that we get a reversal here and we are going to new highs, and $6,400 level was the bottom. So the more people believe in that thing, the more likely it is not the truth. So anyway, the final chart which I was going to show you is this one. You see here the comparison between the price action in 2013, 2015 and 2018 to 2020. Well, here it is a different time scale, of course, but as you know, the capitalization is growing, so the time should be expanded because it's harder to move the price of the asset with higher capitalization. And you see here it's quite resembling what, in terms of the price action, what we had in 2013, 2015. We also had this support level, we had these pullbacks, and finally it got broken. We had this bottom, and then kind of a pullback. We also had this pullback, then sideways, quite short sideways price action, then a rather fast and strong recovery, and then it seems like it got corrected, the same as ours. Finally we got a drop, and one more, and one more. So I wouldn't say, of course, that this is the most likely scenario or that I believe that this will happen. $1,000 is very low, but in fact such things happen very often on different markets, and Bitcoin is not an exception. Of course, people say that, well, we have halving event soon, we have other things like institutions are getting into crypto, the industry is growing, and so on. But this is just the pure technical analysis. This is the statistics of the price of the assets on the whole spectrum of markets. And in fact, the more high potential asset is, the more likely after the first huge pump, huge investors which didn't, like hedge funds or whatever, which couldn't get into this high potential asset before, they will dump it with all the means that they have, and eventually they will buy very low. It happened with during the dot-com bubble, with internet, with 3D printing technology, with many other things like commodities and so on. And just to remind you, there is a chart from Momentum who is using Elliott waves theory, showing that this was the wave sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a peak at $20,000, and then we might have this ABC corrective move to the level of the previous high, which we didn't touch so far. And that might be very reasonable. The monthly time frame, long-term perspective, it's not so crazy at all. So again, it correlates with that level of $1,000, which I showed you before. Surely there is no certainty in the market, but there are different probabilities. And although it's not the most likely one in my opinion, but we shall consider that as well. In any case, let's hope that it will not happen and we will happily accumulate Bitcoin, maybe at a little bit higher price, but with less level of stress and faster than this process. In any case, I will keep you updated, guys, and that is it for today. Thank you for watching.